Thank you, Deputy President. For several years, the Australian Workers Union and Unions New South Wales have been advocating at both a national and state level for workers' rights for migrant workers under the Pacific Australia Labour Mobility, that is the PALM scheme. Historically, the PALM scheme has delivered real benefits for Australia and our Pacific neighbours through affording Australian businesses the ability to utilise labour hire and address shortages in the workforce, supporting the economic growth of Pacific Island countries and Timor-Leste. However, while originally designed for a specialist visa for Pacific Islanders to engage in seasonal work in regional Australia, in recent years the recruitment of migrant workers holding PALM visas has escalated, with many employers outside of the horticultural industry and now almost half of all PALM visa holders employed in the meat processing industry. As a result, unions have raised concerns around PALM visa holders appearing in other industries which have other more appropriate visa pathways which are more effective in providing worker protections which are not being afforded to these workers due to the restrictions in place under the PALM visa scheme. In these workplaces, workers have reported stark exploitation of their working rights by their employers, including underpayment of wages, inflated deductions from their pay for accommodation and transport, and inadequate provision of accommodation and services on-site and off-site. Employees report that employment mobility is extremely difficult because employees are tied to a single employer and are dependent on the employer to nominate them for permanent residency or extend their contracts. Further, it has been found that international students are being coerced into working hours that are in fact in breach of their visa conditions. What the AWU has found, as a union that covers a large majority of these workers, is that the scheme creates a significant power imbalance between employers and workers. As a result, the AWU has been pushing for portability of employment and visa type and a guarantee of work hours. Reform of this scheme is needed to provide visa holders the right to change employers. By introducing employer portability, employees will have the ability to switch employers, especially in instances where employees are seeking to leave a particularly abusive employer. Second, to couple this with the right to apply for other visas which they may be eligible for. Finally, the AWU is calling for workplace hours to be guaranteed at a minimum 30 hours per week to ensure that workers receive a regular weekly income. This will ensure that employers do not use the setting of a worker's weekly hours to unduly pressure disengagement or resignation from their employment. I want to commend in particular the AWU national and state branches and Unions New South Wales for fighting for these workers and affording them the ability to be able to fight for their working rights without fear of visa loss and deportation. Thank you in particular to the AWU National Secretary Paul Farrow, National Administration Officer Letileta Gaga, and National Organiser Jonathan Cook, State Secretaries Tony Callanan, Stacey Shineri, Ronnie Hayden, Brad Gandy, Gary Henderson and Ian Wakefield, Unions New South Wales Secretary Mark Morey, as well as all involved for continuing to fight for migrant workers in Australia. Mr Deputy President, this is a good scheme if administered properly, but if abused, like it is now being, it becomes a way for rapacious employers to take advantage of migrant workers, undercutting wages and conditions of domestic workers, but also poorly paying those immigrant workers. The scheme needs to be reformed along the lines that the unions recommended, and it's something that we should keep an eye on and support the unions in those campaigns. Thank you.